Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, That Creepy Reading, and today we got some Crappypastas. Man, I haven't did this in a while. Well, yeah, I've been busy doing Creepypastas, and I've been working on top 30 Creepypastas, which should be out this Halloween, so keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, I got some really bad stories for you today. But, real quick, I would like to go over the criteria for what makes a Crappypasta. If this is your first story, you are eligible for being a Crappypasta. Now, that doesn't mean your story is bad, it means that we're going to be taking a nick out of it. Because you put, and clearly stated, this is my first Creepypasta, therefore ruining the rest of the story. The second condition or thingy that you could do is by writing a genuinely bad story. I don't like stories that is, oh, blood and hyperrealism and this and that. I like stories that were intentionally made and could be bad because, yeah, like The Room. You know, you could tell someone put effort into it, but it's just that bad. So yeah, that's kind of it. So why don't we go into the stories? Today, we're going to be starting out with the truth about Minecraft. And trust me, the truth behind the actual story of Minecraft is a rather stupid one. But nonetheless, we're going to go into it. And then we got a link to your past. Followed by Left for Reality. Ah, goddamn, we're in for a good one this month. So, please just sit back, turn the lights down, relax, and prepare to be not so scared. This is Crappypastas. You may know about the famous game Minecraft and the player character named Steve. Well then, you may say you know everything about Minecraft, or you are a junkie about it and there's nothing more to it. But have you ever thought, why Steve? What an odd choice. Well, there's a connection and some interesting things. The person we call Steve was a simple boy. He was growing up in a city, enjoying his life, when suddenly, it all collapsed. His best and only friend died. He was trampled to death in a riot. Sadly, Steve was hurt by his loss of his only friend. Steve was mourning after the death of his friend. He was so miserable, he tried to overdose, but failed. Instead, he fell into a coma. His parents came day after day, worrying that his light might be snuffed. They refused to let him be unplugged, praying for his bed. Meanwhile, Steve was living the dream. He made his creatures. He made his world. He would never die. He would only respawn, and occasionally he would make a new world. In some, he could fly and be the creator of life. In others, when he died, the world would just simply be locked away. A wishful dream. In some worlds, though, there would be a watcher. A watcher in the odd mist of the mists. When Steve focused to figure one away, it made Steve shudder and have tears come to his eyes, until one day he realized that his friend was urging him to wake up. And he did wake up. Oh yes, he did. Steve realized his real name was Notch and had the inspiration for a great game. Inspiration from a great friend. A friend he couldn't let go. So you ready to go mining for diamonds? Well, that was shit. Moving on. A link to your past. This is my first Creepypasta, and I would like some constructive criticism, and that would be much appreciated. But to all the trolls out there who feel the need to say that this pasta sucks without saying what I did wrong or how I could do better? I'll hunt you down, come to your house with a baseball bat, and destroy your computer so you never have access to it again on the internet, and I hope you enjoy my creamy pasta! And that is Christian logic. Moving on. The creepypasta itself. I can't take it anymore, I said to the walls around me. Tears were flowing down my cheeks, and I wanted that guilt that I experienced earlier that day to go away. I can't take it anymore. My name is Alexander. I'm 14 years old, no dip. And I now live with my grandparents after the death of my mom and dad, brother, and my sister. That happened 4 years ago. Don't get me wrong, they're nice and caring people, but sometimes I wish my family was still here. And what will happen to me when they pass out? Would I go to an orphanage, or I don't know. It's funny how some things go. The one day you want your annoying brother or sister to just disappear from the face of the earth, but the other day, when they're actually gone, you want them to come back more than anything in this godforsaken world. I still regret the fights that we had from time to time, even when they didn't last longer than 4 minutes. But now, I was staring into a void. It was raining. I noticed. Oh no! There come the tears again. A distraction. That's what I'll need. Or needed. Or whatever you want to write. I turned my computer on and logged in, and went to the internet to look up some good old-fashioned ROM hacks, and that's when I got my SNES emulator. I had a lot of emulators, and I still played in each and every single one of them, but the one that kept coming back to was the ZSNES emulator, probably the most famous SNES emulator among all of them. When I was scrolling through the list of hacks, I found a particular one that caught my interest somehow. It was called A Link to Your Past. I took a quick look at the description and noticed that the hack was the work of my favorite ROM hack developer with the username of Azardi889. This username seemed oddly familiar to me. Each time when I would, seem to be able to figure out why I recognize username, it would just slip right back out of my head and I'd snap back right to square one. I was skimming the text of the description, and then when I suddenly read, dedicated to Alexander, it shocked me at first, but then I rationalized it afterwards. Probably knew my name because I had played every single one of his hacks and always left a positive comment on the hack afterward. He had most likely noticed the constant reoccurring nickname and checked my profile page where that's where he saw my first name. Maybe he wasn't even talking about me. Maybe he was talking about someone else, a close friend or something with the same name. I don't know. I shook it as a coincidence, downloaded a hack without any more hesitation. A feeling of sudden impatience struck me. The guy truly makes the best hacks out there. Instead of just making the game harder by adding more spikes or bottomless pits or unfair enemy placement, he actually adds new items, areas, secrets, and sometimes even alters the storyline. There's not a single ROM hack he ever made out there that disappointed me in the slightest, not even a little bit. I downloaded A Link to Your Past and booted up the SNES. Eager to see what masterpiece I was about to play. The title screen wasn't any different. The 3 pieces of the Triforce were slowly floating towards each other, then diffuse, with the epic title music starting to play directly afterwards. Then, the sword impaled a Z, and I pressed start, ready to play this magical adventure. Link woke up at his house at night and gets told by his uncle to stay in bed. That's how it started, and if you ever played this game, you know how the hack continued. A feeling of disappointment came up as nothing in the game felt altered. No new items, no new areas, no new nothing. Not even the slightest bit of storyline change or dialogue. The only difference was that the characters referred to me as Alexander, despite me having chosen the name of Link. But that seemed more like of a glitch instead of an actual change. When I finally beat the first boss, Madorum, I noticed some very strange things back at the wall. Writing I ignored in the last 3 pendants, seemingly indestructible obstructions along the way that could be easily removed, making good combination between the speed and power boost. I don't know what this meant, so I just simply ignored it. But I kept it in the back of my mind. This could be some importance on later in the game. I once again continued my quest marker much quicker than I expected, which was not a surprise though, because I had already completed the game several times, and this was essentially the same basic game, so I didn't really have much of a problem finding my way. Possible commentary I could post was roaming through my head. It was disappointing. You could have done much better. The result was subpar. All these comments seem so rude, and if there's one thing I don't like to be is rude. I was on my way to the Palace of Darkness when my adventure suddenly came to a halt. A rock was blocking my side path, and my first reaction was obviously to pick it up with the Titan's mitt, but nothing happened. Link did the animation he usually does, but he could not pick up an item. I tried bombing it using the dash attack that Link learned and with the Pegasus boots, and I even got so desperate I tried using the bow and arrow and boomerang, and I even actually used the candlelight on it, but nothing would make the rock budge. Eventually I remembered the weird text. Certainly was seemingly weird, a seemingly indestructible obstruction, but I still hadn't figured out what this cryptic message meant. A power was, of course, the Titan's mitt, maybe the Pegasus boots, but how was I supposed to combine the two? I tried dashing into it first, then picking it up afterwards. It didn't work. I tried another way around, but I got the same result. Then I used them simultaneously by dashing into it right as I was about to bump into the rock by picking it up. And I was surprised to actually see it work. Now, that boulder was out of the way, and I simply went down my merry path. I ended up in an open field surrounded by trees. In the middle, I saw a character. She looked like a young girl. Young and had long blonde hair. She was just standing there. As soon as she came into eyesight, though, Link ran towards her with his sword in hand, uncontrollable, and right as he was about to strike her, the screen faded to black and a loud scream of a girl in agony could be heard. Link was lying in his bed like at the beginning of the game, and he stood up. I couldn't help but notice a red stain on his sword. I don't know why, but I checked my inventory. There are 2 new items, a note and a bottle, filled with brown liquid. I read the first note, and it said, "Happy birthday, Dad. I made you some chocolate milk. You love that drink. Love, Mary." I couldn't help but laugh because how ridiculous this sounded. What did this mean? I took a deep breath and continued my adventure without questioning anything that was going on whatsoever in the magical land of Aventia. I completed the second dungeon of, well, the Dark World with almost no effort. I had kind of forgotten about the troubling event when I was suddenly reminded I was just destroying some bushes, hoping to get some extra hearts, until a hole appeared underneath one of them and I fell in. I landed on a character who started scolding me for disturbing his sleep. He then pulled out a dagger and threatened to stab me. Typical Zelda adventure. I was confused too as of why the character wanted me dead, but he quickly explained, "You," he began his sentence, "you killed her." I was given a choice. I could choose between saying, what are you talking about? And yes, I killed her. I chose the first option to prevent him from killing me, but he only responded with, I don't believe you, rah. I then got the same options and picked the second one this time. The man stuttered or something. I couldn't make out what followed by him backing off. I tried approaching the man, but he kept running away. It didn't take long to figure out this puzzle. I went to my inventory and took the chocolate milk and used it. To my surprise, I dropped the chocolate milk and a note instead of handing it over to the man. And whenever I attempted to pick it back up again, Link said to himself, I don't need it anymore. It fulfill purpose. I don't know what that meant, but I did know that it was no good, because this room didn't hold any more purpose to me whatsoever, so I ventured into the cavern. Inside the cavern, there was a boy. I knew what was coming up, but instead of standing there, the boy ran away. Link started a heavy pursuit to him, and ran around in circles for what seemed like a while. Again, I couldn't control my character. Eventually, the boy fell to the ground and begged for mercy. Link, however, knew no mercy. He raised his sword, faded to black, and in one last Kefka scream could be heard, Link was lying in the same cavern. I found the man before. Only now, the man lied on the floor with a bottle laying next to him, empty. I examined his body, and the boy stated that he was poisoned because drinking the chocolate milk, drinking that poisoned, damn lactose intolerant milk, killed. Just like the boy, just like the girl. I tried following the path deeper into the cavern again, but Link wouldn't let me. A text box would just appear showing 3 dots. It was only then that I realized that all these characters looked familiar. What could it mean? What could it possibly mean? I could just sit there for an hour or two trying to figure out what the hell was going on, but then, still not knowing what the hell was going on or happening, I continued playing the hack to find out. I'm pushing my way up to the last dungeon. My heart was beating rapidly. I was not sure if I would get an answer to this as soon as I reached the very end. I went up through Ganon's tower and reached the boss room. In the end, nothing could have prepared me for what's going to transpire. Nothing at all. I entered the room expecting to face Ganon, but instead I was facing a woman with long black hair and a modern dress and modern clothing. For the time that the events of Link in the Past took place. I paused my emulator. If the other characters, the boy, the girl, the man, already rang, well, a bell, then this NPC must have rang the bell 2 or 3 times. I have no idea what you're talking about. I didn't instantly recognize her, but it didn't take long either. It was my mother! Dun dun dun. I unpaused the game, and I was waiting for Link to walk up and kill her. He was just standing there doing nothing though. I tried moving my character, and I was indeed in control. I felt relieved when suddenly feeling a dark feeling of dread struck me. I was going to have to kill her. Or I could turn off the game and say fuck it. I was going to have to do it. It didn't feel like I was controlling Link, but I was. Felt like someone else was controlling my body and thus controlling my character too. I walked up to her, and instead of turning my computer on or off, each step was triggering a text box like, oh hi honey, what are you doing? Honey, you're scaring me. I pressed the button that would make Link kill my mother. Dear fucking god, this story is awful. It triggered a cutscene. My mom was crying. It begun to stop. I wish I could, but Link slashed his sword one last time, and then the screen faded to black. It wasn't even a screen this time, just eternal darkness. Sorry, mother, I whispered, but what's done is done, and it can't be undone. My, sister, my brother, my mom, my dad, all gone and dead because of me, because I apparently killed them. I checked the description of the ROM hack again, hoping to find an answer here. I didn't know what to do, what to say. I wanted to post a comment asking why RZ made this, but I just wanted to tell him what I thought. But the only word I could type before bursting into tears again was, why? I quickly got a response saying, a link to your pass, followed by his real life name, Methas Smith, or in other words, my dead brother. Alright, we got one more story here. Left for reality. A short one, and then we'll get on to why these stories suck the living shit out of me. Left for reality. I was hoping to get into some co-op Left 4 Dead as I hooked on to Left 4 Dead 2 for a year or so. I thought I'd buy Left 4 Dead on Steam as I had plenty of money on my PayPal. After I got ready to play, I forgot something. Oh crap, I remembered. I don't start games without getting a drink first. So I went quickly to get myself a can of cola and then I came back. But what I saw was weird. The game was much more bloodier than usual. Maybe it was a special edition, I don't really bother asking. All I wanted to do was get into some co-op with 3 other players and get myself hooked on some more chaos. I decided to jump into a random game with 3 guys. I was Francis during this run. We went through the Lego station, and we breezed right through it. I died a couple of times, but this was due to karma chargers that kept ramming me into walls and killing me under 10 seconds. Other than that, it was pretty easy, and I left my mark by killing the witch alone, a feat not to be scoffed at. Much to my surprise, the whole run wasn't so hard, and, well, we completed it. I decided to do it again with 3 more randoms. But something was wrong. I pulled into a random game, and this time, I couldn't choose the survivor. Instead, Bill popped out of my computer, and I was dragged into it. Weird, huh? And I was in the No Mercy campaign, like actually me. And I was standing beside the ragdoll remakes of the 4 survivors. This was creeping me out. Now, are the real survivors dead, or was I pulled into what seems to be a ploy to drive me to insanity? I had to complete the campaign. Nonetheless, I used the AK-47 since it was the best weapon in my opinion. I followed the ragdolls through the level, and I was shocked when I was shooting the actual infected. I stumbled upon an area with a witch. The ragdolls looked at me with their lifeless eyes. Do they expect me to startle the witch? Do they expect me to die? Am I playing their game? All I had to do was startle her, and I knew I'd die inside this game, with no means of going back to my own world. I decided to look around for a rocket launcher or something along those lines. Grenades! Sweet! I threw 4 unpinned grenades, and they all exploded, killing her instantly. So after that, I pushed on until I was stopped. The witch came back to life and floated towards me. I moved backwards until the ragdolls blocked the path behind me. I slid under the witch and ran for my life until I saw Bill dead. I ran closer and I touched Bill. Instead, no response. He turned into a portal from Portal 2 and I jumped in. But before being lifted by the ragdolls in front of the witch again, I decided to fight back with my hands until I found an opportunity. I went back into the portal from Portal 2 and escaped this horror. I mean humor. When I went back into reality, I was asleep. I woke up, uninstalled Left 4 Dead, and told myself, I don't need any more monies anyways. Okay, we got a lot of shit on our plate. We got a lot of stories to deconstruct and tear apart. but I'm sure you'll all enjoy it. Okay, why don't we first go into our first story of the night? The truth about Minecraft. Now, as you know, the reason why this is stupid is because we'll go into the first problem right here. First off, if you're going to say this is the truth about Minecraft, how do you, the writer, know about Notch and his coma? And furthermore, how did you know that his coma was him playing Minecraft in his head? How would you be able to tell such a thing? That's a pretty major plot hole, right? Well, how would you be able to figure out that he had a best friend named Steve? Or rather, no, he didn't have a best friend named Steve. His name was Steve until he apparently changed it to Notch or something, or he thought it was Steve. This is a awful story. The idea that Steve came from a coma that Notch had is a bunch of BS. It's not scary. It's not, like, eventful, and it barely even ties the game into it. You could say this is the truth about PewDiePie.exe or the truth about magical mothers in space and have it make literally just as much sense. This game, this story, doesn't need... Fuck it. The story's bad. The story sucks. Alright, moving on. A link to your past. This story is better. And we don't have much high standards after reading, you know, the truth about Minecraft. But nonetheless, a link to your past is better. For a first-time creepypasta author, he at least uses MLA format, and he talks about some of the stuff in depth. But I can tell where the author's age comes in when he says he was 14. The idea that your parents died, don't put that into a creepypasta. Like, unless if it's really integral to the story, and this one, it didn't really need to be integral to the story. Especially gaming creepypastas. The cliche that, oh, the game killed my parents, or whatever, that is just overly done, overly played, and just stupid. Really stupid. It's overdone, and especially making your character like 14 years old. Like, what the fuck? When I was 14 years old, I wasn't getting on emulators and all that stuff. I really didn't care about all this kind of thing, yet apparently this 14-year-old does nothing but play emulators instead of the new Call Limit Crack. Okay, so in the early story, his parents are established as dead, and as cliche as that is, why don't we try to look past that? There's nothing really believable about the story. The guy says that, oh, well, just hacker I like made emulators for me, and yeah, I like these emulators, and apparently he made one with my name in it, and he said, and linked to the past, and so the symbolism behind that is a bunch of BS. It feels contrived and put in, meaning that it was uninteresting and just overall sucked. Alright, so link to the past plus author who puts your name in the thing, overhanded symbolism that doesn't need to be in there. Okay, there is a lot of bad writing in here where some words were weird. I wanted the guild that I experienced. Do you mean guilt? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Alright, so the guy goes on and explains his thing, but to be quite frank, he could cut out a lot of this. Having hit the part with the rock puzzle, that could be completely removed. That's pointless. It has nothing to do with the story and just kind of sucks. Literally, you can sum up half this creepypasta by saying, well, the beginning of the game, I named myself as Link. They refer to me as Alexander, and nothing really good or bad happened until I got to this part. The thing is with creepypastas that you need to cut out all the unnecessary flubber. It's not interesting, it's boring to read, and usually it's poorly written and sucks because you can tell that you're not interested in writing it and we're not interested in reading it. That's why a lot of really bad creepypastas are bad. Now, why don't we go into the biggest fuck you to your face? Okay. Just listen here. The fact that his favorite author was his dead brother Makes no sense. His leaps in logic to get there sucks. The fact that his brother, who is pissed off at him for killing his family, Dear God, did I just say that? Did I just say that? The fact that his brother killed his family, and then his quote-unquote dead brother decided to make hacks and ROMs for him, and then use this to basically remind him about his past that he apparently had forgotten about, because he would know this because he's clearly had absolutely no conversation at all with him. Oh my God. Shoot me. I'm done. Anyway, yeah, the guy wanted criticism. I'm gonna give him criticism. That's how you improve your story. Overall, for a first-time story, it's alright. And finally, why don't we discuss the last story here on our agenda. Left for Reality. Left for Reality is a hilarious creepypasta. I am unsure if the writer was legitimately being serious about writing this, or if he was trying to do a spoof on creepypastas altogether. But it starts out like alright, kinda. Bad writing, stupid character tropes. I mean, like, of course I always get a drink of soda before I start doing much of anything, and all that magical stuff. But I found out real quickly that this was bad because of the writing in it. The writing was just flat out awful. If you take a look at lines like, "I don't need any more monies," or my favorite creepypasta line of all time, "Bill popped out of my computer and I was dragged into it." Weird, huh? There was a actual fourth line break. Yeah, I don't know what the author was thinking. To be quite frank, this is an awful story by any stretch of the imagination. However, I'd recommend reading it if only to see that awful line. It's like The Room. It's so hilariously bad, it's worth listening to. And I want to go and sleep and like get some cola and go play some Left 4 Dead. So see y'all later, guys.